Hello, everybody. My name is Dylan Jewett, and I'm back in the war room with Ayush Saju. We're trying out a little bit of a new method today. We're going to start going live on YouTube and on X. A little bit of a trial run today, so bear with us. But I guess not much really changed. It's just video of us. So yeah, but uh, first off, I will note I am sick, so that is why my voice sounds a little bit different. It is it's flu game for me today, so Michael Jordan got nothing on me. I'm recording a pod, so I'm sure that's much harder
Yeah,
than
better than
playing a basketball game.
yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so it is December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, and to stay in the Christmas spirit, we are going to uh, continue with our mini, I guess, Christmas series. It's just 2 episodes. Last week we did what did we do last week? We did something Christmas
We did
related.
the naughty nice list.
That's right. Yeah, naughty nice list.
I
Today
don't
we're
really
going to
remember.
do Uh, today it's going to be wish lists for playoff teams. So, uh, 14 teams. Obviously, that's a lot of teams to try and cover within an hour or 45 minutes. So, what we're going to do is uh, we are going to each have so I'm going to do all the even teams in terms of playoff seeding. That is all the even teams in the NFC. Usually going to do all the odd teams in the NFC, and for the AFC I'm going to do all the evens. He's going to do all the odds. So that means we each get 7 teams. We're going to discuss we're not going to go too deep into it for time's sake, but we're going to share one thing that we think each of these teams could use in regards to this season. So specifically, this next X amount of time, these next couple weeks, uh, towards the end of the season and throughout the playoffs, what could each of these teams use to tangibly enhance their chances towards winning a Super Bowl? So. And we're not doing like some sort of personnel thing. It's not like right now they can't go out and the Chargers can't go out and trade for Patrick Mahomes. It can't happen. I guess never would that happen, but uh you know what I mean. They can't. It's not a personnel thing. It's a matter of who could step up. What could they change, et cetera, et cetera. So, or I have one that who could come back in terms of injury. So, with that in mind, we're gonna get the ball rolling here in just a second. But yeah, like I said, we are trying to make a couple of changes. So bear with us on that front. But we are trying to move a little bit more towards not just Spotify and Apple for our posting of the podcast. We are going to do a little bit more expanding our wings going into the YouTube field and potentially into the X field to be able to gain reach, gain a little bit more viewership, listenership, etc., so that we can expand the projection of our voice and reach as many of y'all as we can to spread our knowledge of football and gain a little bit more of a bigger community as we go about this journey. So, yeah, but I guess one last thing before we move on. We said it last week. I'll just reiterate it this week. Had a little bit of a busy week this last week for both of us. Ayush walked walked the stage, got his bachelor's degree this past week. So kudos to yay. Yippee!
Yippee!
Kudos to him. And I walked the stage and got my master's degree down in Baton Rouge at LSU. Ayush went to UTD. I went to LSU. So we'll give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back for that. Plus, in one of our fantasy leagues, I made the championship for the first time ever in that league. How long has that league been going? 4 or 5 years.
I think
I
it's
did
three
it.
or four.
I
Yeah.
did it, and I beat the best team. Uh, and it was like I went nuclear, so I'm proud of that. Ayush is on the other side of that. He's playing another team in the league, obviously, and if he wins, he plays me. We have like a rivalry. So it's like
Yeah,
Steelers,
it's like
Ravens, like
not
Eagles, Cowboys esque.
Alabama,
So
Georgia type thing.
yeah, it's some
Yeah,
serious stuff. There's a lot of trash talk. So
mainly from
we
you.
need this.
A lot of talk you can't back up, but
Yeah. Oh, I can't back up.
yeah,
That's some nonsense right there. I have a I think I've beaten you more times than you beat me, but we've never played a playoff game against each other.
yeah,
So
that's true.
I was actually, even though me and him have our rivalry, I was kind of rooting for him to win this week, because I want to play him in the championship. I want some stakes at hand there, and but Jordan Love,
Just
dude,
need, yeah,
he might
11
not
points
do
from
it.
Jordan
You'll
Love
see.
tonight.
You took
It,
a risk and you started Jordan Love over Lamar Jackson, and
I had to.
it might hurt you, bro. You
If you look
if
at,
you would have already won, you would have won your game.
yeah,
So
yeah,
just for some background, by the way,
I could have won putting Bryce Young in there too. Bryce Young played better than Lamar
yeah.
this week.
But just some background. All you needs you need like what 12 points from Jordan Love, and
Eleven.
your
Yeah,
opponent has 11 points. Your opponent
yeah.
has no one playing. All you have is Jordan Love, so it's in the hands of your guys, like your guy. This is a
This
Yush's
is,
dude.
yeah,
So
this is exactly
he's a
how I want it
Packers
to be.
fan. He's a Jordan Love fan.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, Lamar, if you look at Lamar's history against the Steelers, I feel like I made a safer choice, but I don't know. We could
yeah,
see
I
the
guess that's
Packers
true.
run the ball a lot, so you never know.
I mean, in the sense of like opponent, yeah, but I'd say in the sense of player,
I
that
mean,
felt
I've
like
started
kind of like
Lamar.
the Max Kellerman season on the line. You need
Yeah,
three. Give me
give me Jordan
Iguodala.
Love. Give me
I mean,
Jordan Love.
Jordan Love's a beast. Don't get me wrong, but it's like Steph Curry, Iguodala, Lamar Jackson, Jordan. I'm going Lamar Jackson there. Come on, bro. But
We'll see.
he might still do it. I think he will though. But I hope he does because I
I think
really
my
want to play
bigger
him in the
mistake
championship.
was starting Grant Calcaterra or whatever his name is.
Oh yeah,
That was just stupid.
yeah. You have your tight end room is in ruins, but Grant
I mean,
Calcaterra, that's low.
Okonkwo put up 19, likely put up 11. Either of those would have worked, but
Yeah,
I put Calcaterra who didn't even get a target.
damn. All right. Well, let's get things going here. A lot of fantasy football talk. Like we said, we're gonna keep you updated. Like we said last week, we're gonna keep you updated on our fantasy league because we know that you guys are on the edge of your seat to hear what happens. That's
Yeah,
all you can think about throughout the week. But
it's
uh, so on to what I said earlier. Wish lists for all of the playoff teams. So because their goal is obviously to go win a Super Bowl. Um, we're gonna start with the NFC. Like I said, I'm gonna do all the odds for NFC. He's gonna do the evens. That way he gets the Packers. And then otherwise for the
we're
AFC,
gonna
I'm
get the
doing
Cowboys.
yeah, not dang. Uh Not quite. Hey, we looked good yesterday though. I was kind of impressed.
You
Not
did, yeah,
really happy, but because I want that earlier pick, but at the same time, I guess the team's kind of showed a lot of cohesion right now. But
yeah.
and then on the AFC, I'm going to do evens. He's going to do odds. So let's get this going. I'm going to start off with the Lions for the NFC. Uh, so uh, what I guess it would have been 2 weeks ago now. David Montgomery went down with an injury. I think it was knee related, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, he
MCL,
shortly after that, it was what?
MCL. I'm pretty sure.
It was that like an MCL sprain, yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
So and then he got tested and all that type of stuff. They said, oh, he's out for season, but then he decided to go get a second look, and the other doctors that he was talking to, they think that he could be able to come back for the playoffs. And from what I heard, the reports I heard is it could be something along the lines of like divisional or conference round. So for the Lions, if they can get David Montgomery back, oh, I guess I didn't even think about it right now until now, but the kind of secondary caveat, I guess this one would be even more helpful. But if Aiden Hutchinson came back, because Aiden Hutchinson thinks that he's coming back this season, I don't know how he thinks he's coming back. I think it's torn ACL or something like that.
It's
You don't
it's
come
a
back
lot
from
of
that in
things,
the
I
same
think. Yeah.
season. Like, I remember there was, when George Pickens was at Georgia, he tore his ACL, but it wasn't during the season. He tore his ACL and he came back that season, but it was before.
Mm,
It was like March, during like OTAs and all that type of stuff. He tore his ACL. Everyone's like, okay, he's done for the season, and then he comes back, uh, for I think their playoff run that year, something like that.
uh,
Uh, and and Yeah, so and then he got drafted that next year to the Steelers, or shortly after that to the Steelers. But that's the last time I can remember something like that. So if David, long story short, if David Montgomery comes back, it's going to be a big help to the Lions. Of course, if Aiden Hutchinson comes back somehow, obviously going to be a big help. It is worth noting the little kind of asterisk on that is they would be fresh off an injury. You don't know how much help that would be. For them to be able to come back, so their recovery process would be really need to be really smooth, and then they would need to be able to have like 2 weeks to like revamp before they're able to really go. I don't know how attainable that is for either of them, but they think it's good. They think it could happen. So good luck. But okay. So number 2 seed is Philly. What do you got? Use.
yeah, I mean, Philly has looked really, really good, especially as of late. I know they lost yesterday, but I mean, it happens. A lot of their, I saw like Twitter, like two of their three losses have been off of like drops from their star players or whatever. Which I mean, it's tough that it happens. It does happen sometimes. I guess it's rough that it has to happen in that way. But um, I think for Philly to really become more complete is to try to get more involvement from the other guys. So I mean, Saquon's doing his thing. He has like 2,000 yards this season. I'm pretty sure. AJ Brown's doing his thing. He's got 1,000 yards. Devontae Smith, he's got maybe 800-ish yards. But I think outside of that, no one else has over 500 yards for the Eagles. So I think trying to get like guys like Goddard healthy, trying trying to get Kenneth Gainwell involved a little bit, trying to get their third and fourth receivers maybe a little bit involved, just to try to spread the ball around, get um, some of that weight off Saquon's shoulders, off AJ Brown's shoulders. I think that could really help um, make that Philly offense take another step in the right direction. Because I mean, all three of their losses have been. I mean, the two of them were without AJ Brown. The one yesterday was basically without Jalen Hurts. So they are purely reliant on their star power. I don't know if there's a team in the NFC that could even stop Saquon right now. I mean, Detroit's hurt defensively. Vikings have a good defense, but I mean, I don't think it's Saquon stopping. Uh, I mean, and those are the only two that I really feel like have any shot of having like a good defense. So maybe you can still rely on Saquon and be okay, but I feel like to be on the safer side and to be more complete, getting more involvement out of some of their role players would make him even better. And making Hurts be, I mean, he's been efficient. He's kind of been a role player for him, even though he's been really solid. A lot of pluses, um, but they haven't had him to be um, a game changer in any way. And maybe there's going to be a point in the season in the playoffs that they're going to need from him. So I think being ready for that, getting some other guys involved, getting more out of Jalen Hurts is probably the biggest thing they need because I think overall the defense has looked so much better compared to last season. Offense has looked so much better, obviously adding Saquon. So it's just the little details now for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good way of kind of in just a short, 3 minute portion, just kind of I guess breaking down what the Eagles are right now. They have a lot of star power that's playing really well, but I think some of the details need to be refined. But okay, so moving on to the 3 seed, the Los Angeles Rams. Um, I talked about him last week. He failed me in fantasy in my other league, the not the one we were talking about earlier, but Cooper Cup. He these past 2 weeks has a combined two, I think, two catches and like 25 yards. This and all of those numbers came from this past week. The week before, put up zero, uh, zero all the way around. He had like 6 targets, no catches, no yards, obviously. Um, but the Rams need more out of him. Obviously, some of that's not his fault. I think some of that's just the fact that Puka Nakua just gets the ball consistently, obviously for good reason. But I think Cooper Cup could use a little bit more uh, attention from the Sean McVay led offense itself. But obviously, Sean McVay knows a lot more than me, and he knows what he's doing. But I do think a couple more passes could go the way of Cooper Cup, and I think that's going to uh, help this offense be able to get back to what it was doing a couple weeks ago against the Bills. Because these past 2 weeks, the Rams offense has, I think, is 19 points and 12 points in these past 2 weeks against the. I don't even know who they've played. I can't even remember who they played. I know one of them was the 49ers. Uh,
Yeah,
but um,
like the Jets
yeah,
yesterday.
Jets. Is that right? Is it the Jets? That doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is right. Okay,
that's
I actually watched that game. I don't even know how I forgot that, but
boring.
yeah. So yeah, Cooper Cup needs to get going, or at least back to getting going, like he was a couple weeks ago when he was playing a very good role as a very solid complementary receiver to Puka Nacua. Okay, number four, and this is one that worth noting. Me and Ayush discussed beforehand. We were like, okay, Falcons and Bucks, who wins the division? And we, even though the Falcons are currently slotted in at the 4 seed, if the season ended today, we think the Bucks are going to win the division because their next two matchups are, I think, the Panthers and the Saints, whereas the Falcons have to worry about the Commanders and the Panthers. So Commanders is going to be a little bit of a tall task for them, I think, with the rookie quarterback. The both of us were like, yeah, maybe Commanders take care of business there. So uh,
Mm.
Bucks are going to win it. So we're going to roll with the Bucks as the 4 seed. What do you got on their wish list, Ayush?
And they really just need something out of their pass defense, something positive. It's been rough, I think, all season for them. I don't really know what they have to do. I just don't think they have the personnel, honestly, to really be a good secondary right now. They got, I mean, Zion McCollum. He, I mean, he looked kind of bad yesterday. That's probably the first Tampa game I've watched in full, just sitting down and watching that I've had time to. Um, they're really good tacklers. A lot of the guys, Tyke Smith has some really nice tackles in there. Um, I don't remember what the other guy's name was, but there's one other, I think, safety that has some good tackles. But coverage wise, it's been really rough. I think they're bottom. They might be last. I know for sure they're like bottom three in pass yards allowed. Um, I mean, they might be last. I'm not 100% sure, but that's probably the one key weakness for Tampa right now. And if they want to be truly competitive throughout this playoff series, they need to get more out of there because, I mean, first they'll be the 4 seed. They're probably going to be matched up against either Minnesota or Green Bay in the first round, potentially the Lions. I don't know if Minnesota's going to get that 1 seed, but um, and those are both all three of those teams are really good pass offenses. So it's going to be rough for them if they can't figure that out. Because everything else has been, I think, really, really solid. From their pass offense has been really great, even though Godwin went down. Um, rush defense is solid. I think Bucky Irving and Rashad White are a really good 1-2 punch. Rush defense has been really solid. I think that in D line is led by Vita Vea is really, really solid. And so really it just comes down to that pass defense. And they let Cooper Rush look really, really nice last night against them. I
Yeah.
mean, I think Rush started off like I don't know what 12 or 15 or something like that.
Yeah,
He,
the first
he
half, Rush had like 250 yards.
yeah. So I mean, it was tough for sure. Um, I'm not 100% sure how they fix that, but it is something they need to fix. And I think it comes down to a personnel thing, in my opinion. And I'm not sure if they have the personnel fix that this season, but it is for sure something that they have to watch out for as they uh, are looking to the playoffs.
Yeah, I will note, I can't remember if you brought this up, but Winfield didn't play
Oh, that is true.
yesterday.
Yeah,
Obviously, that would play a role in helping them, but that's not a Cooper Rush dicing you up. It's not that type of, you know, it's not that big of a gap without Winfield that it would have been that bad. So there is definitely some, things to clean up for the Bucks on the back end of their defense. I will say also on the flip side of that, there was a moment in there where they steered away from Bucky Irving. I want to say third quarter, where they just stopped giving Bucky Irving the ball consistently. And I was like, why? Why would you do that? He's the one thing
that's
that's working for you.
true.
He's getting you down the field. Baker's a little rattled right now. There's a lot of pressure on him. So help get the pressure off of him, incorporate more of the play action game. I think they did a good job on Micah for most of the night, but as soon as they started to steer away from Bucky Irving in the running game, that's when Micah started to get going. Like I said, Bucky Irving, I think it was the third quarter that they started to steer away from him a little bit. That's when Micah Parsons was able to get. I think he got like five pressures in that single quarter, and he got the strip sack. But yeah, so definitely definitely interesting with the Bucks. I think the thing that sucks about that team is I don't know if they took a step forward from last year. I think they very well should have taken a step forward.
That's
I guess
true.
you can
Yeah.
also incorporate the fact that Godwin's been out all season or for most of the season. Evans has he missed a good chunk of time in there. Also, shout out Mike Evans. I really hope he gets to 1,000. Really rooting for him there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought they should have taken a little bit more of a step forward this year, and I don't think that really has too much to do with. It has a little bit to do with personnel. I think a lot of that has to do with the schematic aspect of it. But I do think they could be a dark horse, just like last year, to win a game or two potentially and make some noise. But I don't know if that'll happen, but it could very well happen. Um, okay, so what are we? We're on the 5 seed.
Yep.
Minnesota Vikings. You brought up a second ago. The Vikings could, in theory, win the division, and they could get to 1 seed. Their range is pretty much 1 seed, 2 seed, or 5 seed right now. That's what they're going to land. And I think this one's kind of easy for me. The top of their wish list is just to be able to win that 1 seed. That's the win the division, win the 1 seed. But the it's easier said than done because you have not only do you have two back-to-back divisional games coming up against who do they play first? Do they play the Lions? Yeah, they play the Lions. And then you play the Packers if I'm not mistaken. So this is
Yeah.
oh no, Packers and
It's the
then
other way
Lions.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, Packers and then Lions. Uh, so the advantage or the disadvantage of that is you play the Packers and Lions who rock. The advantage of that is you play the Packers and Lions who rock because on one hand you have a tough schedule, on the other hand you got a schedule that you can capitalize on and you can you control your destiny to getting the 1 seed. That's how it is, and I think that's the same way with the Lions as well. On the flip side of that, so um, that is like I said, it's easy. It's easier said than done. It's kind of an obvious one, but if the Vikings are able to get that 1 seed, you have a whole new world that opens up. I think we've had a little bit of uh, pretty tangible conversations with the Vikings earlier on the season. I was like, okay, there's been a lot of teams in recent memory that I'm like, I've brought up the Sam Bradford Vikings from, I want to say 2019, 2018, maybe
Mhm.
even before. No, it would have been like 2016, I think. I think it was before the Case Keenum year,
It's
where
oh my goodness.
they went, I think 5-0, and everyone's like, man, the Vikings are good. Then they fall off a cliff, and I think they entirely miss the playoffs. Same story could be said as last year. There was a point in time where they're 7-4, I think it was, and they're looking at a 6 or 7 seed playoff spot. Then they fall off a cliff. I thought it was going to be the same as those past, seasons that I've mentioned, I thought they were going to Sam Darnold is eventually going to hit a roadblock. They're going to fall off. But one key factor there is Sam Darnold has been consistently good all the way around, and this team has ran through that. They've ran through the chip on the shoulder type of mentality, despite the injuries of their first round quarterback, despite the injuries of their superstar left tackle, and I think Jordan Addison missed time. Oh, Hawkinson obviously missed time. A lot of things that they've had to battle. Obviously, every team has their injuries, but I think this is a unique situation where 13-2, despite all of this, really impressive. But now we're, like I said, we're sitting at 13-2 with the Minnesota Vikings. This team has already clinched a playoff spot. This is a real team that is very skilled, very good, and uh, even so, I've questioned the concept of how deep can this team go in the playoffs. I think last week I said uh, the teams that I truly think in the NFC that have a chance: Lions, Eagles, Packers. Otherwise, I think these other teams are good. I think they're competent. I think they're going to have some good games in there. Make some of those three teams sweat it. But I think those are the teams that are truly going to win it. But if the Vikings can get if they can win the division and get that one seed, then all of a sudden everything opens up for them. So I think if they can get in a spot where they have that one seed, you're going to, regardless of how good they are, when you really stack it up against these other teams that I again just mentioned, I think that's when you look at the Vikings and you're like, okay, this is a team that's not just a team that is going to, maybe be memorable for Vikings fans and maybe really put up a battle and, have a chance at the Super Bowl. This is a team that where all of us as NFL fans can collectively look at this, assuming they get the one seed, and be like, man, I could actually imagine the Vikings getting into the Super Bowl and truly winning this thing, uh, kind of the chip on the shoulder mentality of the 2018 Eagles, where it was an underdog type of mentality. Your quarterback's out. Obviously, a little bit different circumstances here because of how late that Carson Wentz injury happened. But I think there's a little bit of that kind of magic, and I guess the same type of magic as that 2018 Vikings team itself with Case Keenum. But that I think depends really heavily on if they can get this first round bye. Um, Okay, I'll pass it off to you. With the number 6 seed, who is the number 6 seed?
And
Packers. Oh man,
yeah,
Packers.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple with the Packers. You just want to get Jair Alexander back um, soon, very soon. The inactives just got released for tonight's game, and then my Twitter notifications are like, "Oh, Jair Alexander's out again." So it would be nice to have him back. I mean, the secondary's held up without him so far. I mean, we haven't had to play any super crazy offenses, I think, since he went down. Um, but still, I mean, our starting corners are now Keyshawn Nixon and Eric Stokes. So it's not a fun grouping that you want to deal with, especially when you get to the playoffs and you're potentially playing, who would it be? If we're six, then we're playing LA, right? I think so. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I mean, if you're gonna have to go up against like Puka and Cooper Cup, then that's not gonna be fun going into playoffs at all. So getting Jair back, continuing what they have been doing. Um, Defensively, I think they've been really good. The edge rushers have been getting their time. Lucas Van Ness has, I think, been really, really underrated these past couple weeks. Been really, I mean, he's still kind of one-dimensional right now, which is okay in my opinion. Hopefully, he'll improve as time goes on. But the strides that he's made since Preston Smith got traded and he's got more playing time has been impressive to watch. And I hope that he gets better. Maybe I'll put that on the wish list too. Continue to see great things from Lucas Van Ness going into the playoffs. Um, but yeah, that pressure grouping is really really nice in terms of the front seven. Xavier McKinney has been beautiful to watch. On the flip side of the ball, Josh Jacobs, those free agency signings are literally the greatest free agency signings of all time. So
Mm.
um, it's just been fun to see. But if there's any way to get better, it is for sure getting Jair Alexander back to make sure that secondary is fully locked and loaded. Because when you have a kick returner playing corner, I mean that's not necessarily your best go-to lineup there. But overall, I mean I love what the Packers are doing. Hopefully, the Toyota extends Toyotathon through February uh, to get some extra juice out of Jordan Love. I'm so scared about tonight, bro, Loki, just because now that I'm super superstitious, honestly, and so whenever I see all these betting websites start promoting, me and my friend used to keep track of like the most popular play on Price Picks to see if it actually hit or not, and it would almost never hit.
Mm,
And Jordan Love pass yards is the most popular play today on Price Picks. And then you got that
yeah.
along with I don't know if you remember this, but whenever we were on offsides, there was the little thing whenever Russ and Kyler made their trademarks for like the let Russ cook whatever Hail Murray those things, and their record after was like a combined like 1-9 or
Yeah.
something like that. You remember that? I
Yeah.
feel like the Jordan Love becoming a Toyota-thon, like acknowledging the Toyota-thon conspiracy, is kind of similar to that. It's like filing a trademark, and so I'm very scared that he's just gonna suck today. So
Yeah, it feels like it could be a trap game. It really
it
does.
does. Like there was that
And
game against the Giants last year, the Tommy DeVito Giants that we lost
yeah,
last year. That was tough, but
yeah.
surely Spencer Rattler's not Tommy DeVito. Um, but yeah, that's my on my wish list is to win. Hopefully, get the 5 seed. Getting the 5 seed would be nice. Obviously, you need to beat the Vikings next week. Um, and then I think they would have to lose again to the Lions. So I guess the Vikings would have to lose out. Packers would have to win out for Packers to get to 5, Vikings to drop to 6, and that could get a more favorable matchup depending on
Yeah.
um, who you view as better in terms of the Rams and Tampa. But yeah, I think overall it's just continuing the consistency that have been. Josh Jacobs has been great. Defense has been really great. Jordan Love has been doing his job. And then once Jair comes back, I think that defense can really click at a level that hasn't been there for the most part of the season.
Yeah. Uh Definitely, yeah, definitely agree. I will say I wish we would have seen a little bit more from Love. I think this year, he's been good. I did think that he was going to. Man, I don't remember. Did I say whatever we were doing before the season? I think I projected Love as MVP, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, it was either him
I,
or Stroud.
I think you said Stroud. I think I might have said
Did
Jordan
I?
Love.
Yeah, well, regardless, I know he was in that breath for me. I thought he was going to
Hmm.
enter that type of realm. I think the injury earlier this season was the key thing that we can identify that led to that not happening. I think that he tried to. I almost wonder if because there was a little bit of a point in time earlier on where those interceptions were coming pretty easily. He's had 4 straight games, no picks. But I almost wonder if he was like, man, I missed some time. I want to try and revitalize my MVP campaign. I'm just going to air it out a little bit more. And I wonder if that's what got
Possible.
him in trouble a little bit. If he was trying to do a little bit too much and was trying to fix that. I don't know if that's he would never admit to that, but I don't know if that's I don't know if that's potentially really what happened, but I could see that being like a little bit of a, kind of reason why these types of those types of interceptions were flowing in. But
Yeah.
uh, okay, so let's move on to the number 7 seed Commanders. Uh, they did they? I think they clinched their spot if I'm not mistaken. Did they? Nope, they haven't
Uh,
clinched. I guess technically, whoever loses out the NFC South, and maybe whoever loses out the NFC West could make a run for that 7 seed. But regardless, Commanders looking like the 7 seed. I don't think they're going to lose that. Dan Quinn led, and with Dan Quinn came a lot of the same things that worked really well with the Cowboys, but it also came some of the same things that worked poorly for the Cowboys, which during the Dan Quinn time period as the defensive coordinator in Dallas, he was not very good at stopping the run. Still an issue for the Cowboys, although they are better as of late this season uh, under Mike Zimmer. But over the I want to say 3 years that Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator, there was a lot of problems with stopping the run. The Commanders right now are third worst in the league at stopping the run on defense.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's going to be the top of their wish list is how they can resolve that. It's also kind of weird because Bobby Wagner is not himself. Obviously, he's not prime Bobby Wagner, but he's still been able to do some nice things. Frankie Louvu has been nice, but I think they're using him a little bit more of that as that pass rush specialist type guy that getting after the quarterback, playing that Sam linebacker role. But Luvu's been a good linebacker for them this year. But they do have some work to do in terms of stopping the run. Um, so I would like to see them. Well, I don't know if I would like to because I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm not rooting for the Commanders or the playoffs, but for their own good, I think them improving their running defense would go a long way in helping them, especially considering um, Lions, uh, Eagles. I mean, even the Vikings have Aaron Jones. The Packers have Josh Jacobs. Rams have Kyron Williams. All these playoff teams. And if the Bucks make it, you have one of the best running tandems in the league in Bucky Irving and Rashad White. Oh, and even if the Falcons make it, you have Bijan Robinson and Algier. So the teams that you're playing are going to be really good at running the ball. You need to be able to stop it. So I do have a fear that Commanders. I mean, I guess they're the seventh seed, so it's not particularly expected for them to advance. But I do think the Commanders could be one and done uh, unless they get some serious rookie magic from Jaden Daniels. Okay, so let's move on to the AFC. We're going to try and make up a little bit of time here because we're trying to keep it at about an hour. We took 40 minutes on, well, I guess 30 minutes because we were just yapping for the first 10 minutes. But we took about 30 minutes for NFC. So we're going to try and
Okay.
knock this AFC portion out in a little bit more of a timely manner. But um, so the number one Kansas City Chiefs. Uh, and like I said earlier, you should get do odds for AFC. I'll do evens. Number one, Kansas City Chiefs. I think they are one win away from clenching the number one seed as well. If I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. Um, Devil Magic has been on their side this entire year. Uh, what say you, Ayush?
Yeah, I mean, it's been working out really well for them. Obviously, they're what 14-1 right now. So I mean, I think the main thing that they want to see and they're wishing for is just to find kind of the spark that they've been missing offensively that they're used to having in the past. The defense has been really really good. Chris Jones has been really nice. Um, that defense as a whole has just been really really good. And that's I think the primary reason why they're winning a lot of their games this season, which is unusual for them. But I mean, Kansas City, Mahomes has been average by standards. Kelsey has obviously fallen off a cliff. Um, Pacheco's been hurt; he just came back. So it's a lot of change happening on the offensive side of the ball. Hollywood Brown just came back as well, but um, with all these key guys returning, I really think they can find a way to get back to that creative offense that they're used to running. Um, now you got options at wide receiver. You got Hopkins, you got Hollywood, you got Worthy. You got a really nice trio there. You got Kelsey, obviously, um, and I think maybe instead of more creative, it might be more just that deep ball ability that they're missing. I think they don't have as much creativity, but it's also they don't have that big play type of feel that they've had in the past. Maybe that's just more of a feel thing, or I don't know if stats will back that up. But the deep ball just hasn't been there this season. And so with Hollywood back, that can open things up for Worthy. Hopkins has also had the ability to get that jump ball. Um, so and then Kelsey can have that run after catch ability. So I really think you can find your way back to that identity that you built as an offense in Kansas City. And then now you have Pacheco back. You can ease him in without Kareem Hunt has been playing really solid. So once Pacheco's fully 100%, you can basically have a really nice tandem there at running back. They can use both of them, get 12, 15 carries for each of them, see how they do. Use some in the pass game more than the others. I mean, I think they're. It feels like they're kind of gearing up to really just find their groove in the playoffs once again, especially with how things have just timed up really well for guys to return. Rasheed Rice, I don't think was returned this season, but I don't think that that matters too much for them because with that trio of receivers that I mentioned beforehand, I really think Mahomes is gonna get find that footing that he hasn't quite found the entire season, and um, it could mean trouble for other teams in the playoffs with how things could go for them. So I really think it's really just that offense finding their groove, and once that happens, I mean, 14-1 is there. You can't. There's not much to do when you're 14-1, honestly. So, and when you find that offense, it's really dangerous for other teams.
All right, so moving on to the number two seed Bills. Josh Allen seems like he's primed for a MVP season or MVP award season. Um, However, this past week was a little bit of a random fall off, especially considering it was a team like the Patriots. We were talking a little bit about those trap type of games, like whenever we were talking about it within the context of the Packers. I think this was going to be the Bills trap game, but they were able to prevail. So, in a weird sense, I think it was a little bit reassuring for me for the trajectory of what the Bills are going to be this offseason or this postseason. Because obviously, I've always said with the Bills that they're the AFC Dallas Cowboys, but add an extra round to how far they get in the playoffs. And I think that the Bills could have a true fighting chance at the Super Bowl this year. We said it last week. We circled back to who we think is going to get to the Super Bowl, um, and updating our opinion on who's going to get to the Super Bowl and win. I don't know if we said who would win the Super Bowl, but I said the Chiefs for the AFC, but the Bills are not too far behind. Um, with that being said, Josh Allen has a lot of pressure on his shoulders right now, and I think everyone knows that. And I think that there needs to be a little bit of relief on that end. And here's what the person that I think needs to step up is Amari Cooper. I guess you could also throw Dalton Kincaid in there, someone that was first round pick last year, looked really good last year, looks solid this year, but hasn't taken off this year. But Amari Cooper, they traded for him midseason. He has, I think, these past two games, I think he has like 25 yards, which is not good, especially for someone that you brought in hoping that he would be your wide receiver one pretty much. Oh, he doesn't even have 25 yards. He has 10 yards. And
The past two games,
yeah, these past two games,
wow.
10 yards, two targets, one catch. And if you exclude, I mean, you can't exclude a game because it was very important. But if you exclude the Rams game, which he had 95 yards in, you can keep going. 12 yards the year or the week before against the 49ers, 55 yards against the Chiefs, 3 yards against the Seahawks. These are
Wow.
not good numbers. So collectively, he has 200, what, 200 something yards here with the Bills. That's not good for someone who's been with the team now for 241 yards in 7 games. That's not good. Um, he needs to step up, take some of the relief off of Josh Allen's shoulders, and that's what's going to help this team take the next step into potentially making it to the Super Bowl. For they've, it's been such a long, hard road for the Josh Allen led Bills, just over and over again being devastated in the playoffs. They need to break that barrier, and I mean, this window is going to stay open. As the Super Bowl window is going to stay open for the Bills as long as Josh Allen is there. But you got to wonder, I slightly mentioned it earlier, but every year there's teams that are true contenders and there are teams that are just there at the party having fun, meaning, the playoffs. Uh, I wonder how much longer the Bills are going to be a team that everyone's like, oh yeah, Super Bowl. The Bills make sense to make it to the Super Bowl. I think eventually there's gonna be a point in time where it's like Bills, they're gonna be a good team. They're gonna go put up 11, 12 wins every year. But how true, how realistic is it for them to actually make it to the Super Bowl? I think this is their best chance. They need to take advantage of it, especially consider even though the Chiefs are 14-1, the Chiefs aren't as good as they've been in years past, even though I still think that they're a Super Bowl worthy team. But yeah, Josh needs some help. Um, okay, I'll pass it on to you for the number 3 seed.
Pittsburgh Steelers. So, I mean, this is very similar to me to Philly. It's just you got to find ways to get other people involved. Because without Pickens, the offense is just completely stagnant. Um, and this is a team that's primarily led by their defense. You know, the defense is going to help be the reason why they win games for the most part. Um, but I mean, you have some options outside of Pickens, and I don't feel like there should be as much of a drop off in offensive output without Pickens there. They didn't have him this past week, and they just really couldn't get anything going. Um, I mean, Frymouth has been here and there. He was not there last week or this past couple of days ago. I think it was mainly Calvin Austin was their go-to guy, who is a nice piece. I do think they should use him a lot more. Um, Van Jefferson is also an option that they can go to, uh, but I think they kind of need to like stick it to the ground game, especially when Pickens isn't there. Najee is decent. I mean, he's not super great, but he'll get you yards some way or another. Jalen Warner is a really nice change of pace guy that they can use. Um, and when Pickens is not cooking, which I mean there's just those games where he's gonna hurt or he might get thrown out. I feel like at some point or another, um, you have to find a way to keep the offense flowing in some way or another. Maybe that means you even bring in Fields at some point and use him as a weapon in some way or another. But um, I think right now the Steelers have just really struggled to do anything without Pickens. Um, Russ has just not been able to get the ball downfield without Pickens, which makes sense. Um, and so it's just figuring out who's going to be that go-to guy when Pickens is not on the field. Is it going to be Fryermuth as kind of a safety valve? Is it going to be punching the run game with the two backs that you got, or is it going to be one of the other receivers that you have, which is probably not the greatest option, but um, I think if they want to be competitive in the playoffs, especially, I mean, as a 3 seed, they're playing with six, which is probably going to be one of those AFC West teams. Uh, they got to figure out a way to be able to beat the defenses that they have. The Chargers defense is really good. The Broncos defense is really good. So if they're unable to get anything going um, and not be so one dimensional, it's going to be really tough for them to get anywhere further than the first round in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm interested to see uh, who the Steelers play because I think that a game against the Chargers would be really entertaining. Steelers Chargers, I think they're very similar in how
Harbaugh
they
Bowl again.
yeah, I think they conduct their uh teams very similarly, coach them very similarly.
Yeah,
Very
they
physical,
could
very
they could drop to 5 too, right? The Steelers.
yep, they could. Yeah.
Yeah,
They would play the Texans in in that situation. Um,
yeah,
unless the Texans were able to somehow make it to the 3 seed, which would mean they would play the Ravens. Um,
interesting.
conversely, though, assuming the Steelers stay at 3, Uh, they could also play the Broncos if the Broncos are able to leapfrog the uh, Chargers. I think that would be interesting because the last time that we saw a rookie quarterback play the Steelers, I think it was it was in Pittsburgh too. Last time we saw a rookie quarterback play the Steelers in the playoffs was uh, it did not go so well for the Steelers. That was Tim Tebow.
Is that
So
really the last time? Dang.
think so. I think that was the last time that a rookie quarterback came to Pittsburgh and beat them in the playoffs. Uh, so
Oh,
that feels right. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the Texans. Uh, Texans are 9-6. Currently hold the 4 seed. Um, Tank Dell just had a pretty devastating season-ending injury earlier this season. Stephon Diggs had a season-ending injury, so the receiver core that was once supposed to be pretty much arguably the best in the league uh, is a little bit more decimated, especially considering the fact that you can add in the fact that Nico Collins missed some time earlier on with injury himself. Um, so CJ Stroud, uh, who I think I picked to win the MVP before the season started. I think that's what I said would win the MVP. I said the Texans would win the whole damn thing. I think that he's been a little bit underwhelming for me, and obviously a lot of that has to do with the fact that his weapons have been hurt. Oh, I didn't even mention Joe Mixon this time, but his weapons have been hurt, but still he has enough weapons to play better than he actually is right now. So what would be on the wish list of the Texans, in my opinion, would be that CJ Stroud gets a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, especially after this Tank Dell injury. Kind of a little bit of an enlightenment type of moment where he's like, "This is really all on me." Obviously as Nico Collins, obviously as Joe Mixon, and competent defense, good coaching. Those are things that not every team, most teams can't even say. But I think that he needs to have a moment where it's like, if we really are going to take care of business and get to the Super Bowl and all these types of things, it's going to run through whether or not CJ Stroud keeps playing the way that he is right now. Because in that case, you're looking at a first or second round exit easy. Uh, or if he's able to flip a switch and if he's able to uh, recapture some of the magic of last year, then that's how you're going to get a true Super Bowl run here. So the odds are stacked against him, but if CJ Stroud can have a little bit of a flip of switch flip, then that's how you're going to really have a chance here. So number 5 seed is currently the Ravens, who just beat the Steelers um, uh, this past weekend. Uh, what do you got for their top of their wish list?
I think it's two things. The one key one is getting the pass defense to continue to improve. Um, I mean, I just looked at it. They're 31st in pass yardage allowed, while they're first in rush yardage allowed, which is not the kind of balance you want with a defense. Um, and the other thing is hoping Justin Tucker can stay consistent because I think in every single loss they've had this season, Justin Tucker missed a kick or two, and that has been the difference for the most part in every single one of these games. Let me fact check myself, real quick. The Eagles they lost to 24-19. That's 5 points. Justin Tucker missed two field goals and an extra point. Um, they lost to the Steelers 18-16. Justin Tucker missed two field goals that game. They lost to the Browns 29-24. Justin Tucker missed one. So I guess that's not the complete difference, but still. Um, and then they lost to the Raiders 26-23. Justin Tucker missed a field goal. And I think and then they lost to the Chiefs 27-20. Justin Tucker missed a field goal, which wouldn't have filled the gap, but it would have been something. And I mean, it's Justin Tucker; he'll probably figure it out. But that was just something interesting that I noticed. Maybe he missed some in the games they won. I didn't really look. I was trying to look at similarities in the games they lost, and that was one that stuck out to me. Um, but the main thing is fixing that pass defense. Um, I kind of think that the numbers are slightly skewed because of like the Cincinnati games, because you had Burrow 450 yards in like each of those games basically. So the numbers might be a little skewed to make it look worse for the Ravens to be 31st. But overall, I still think that their pass defense has not been great. Um, they've allowed guys to throw it all over. I'm trying to think exactly what I'm trying to say, but I mean, they just got to find that balance to make sure that they can really control the game because they're able to control the run for the most part every single game. I think the one time they weren't was against Saquon, which is understandable. But then, and once that run game is contained, you can't allow the pass game to just completely get out of hand and allow teams to really get the ball going downfield through the air. So, especially when it comes playoff time, when you're going against teams in the later rounds like the Bills potentially, or the Texans or the Chiefs, those are guys that are going to be able to throw the ball on you. Um, so I think figuring that out, and I think it's very, very possible for them to kind of start cleaning that up. Um, and I think that can really just be the key to really start controlling games as you get to playoff time, because most of the losses have either been really, I mean, they've all been really close. They've been like kind of like they just kind of choke it in the end, um, in some way or another. So it's very controllable opportunities for the Ravens that they just have to end up controlling at the end of the day. And once they do that, I really think the team has very, very little flaws outside of that.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, anytime that you have a super high caliber MVP type player in your team, you're always going to uh, be involved in the playoffs, and you're going
For
to
sure.
have a true chance. But uh, that's a team that kind of similar to the Bills, where it's like just a couple more things going their way, a couple more checks, check marks on other areas of the team. That's when you truly get a team that has a fighting chance at a Super Bowl. So they have a little bit of a ways to go, but definitely they're definitely on the table to still be able to go win a Super Bowl. Anyways, okay, so moving on to number 6 seed Los Angeles Chargers. Uh, this year, their offense has posted 21.9 points per game on average, which is below average of the that it's below average on that regard in the NFL. One problem that they have right now is they are also below average on takeaways. Uh, their defense, and I mentioned this to Ayush before we start recording, their defense is first in fewest points allowed. They've only allowed 18.3 points per game, but they're also middle of the pack in yards per game, yards allowed per game, which is kind of interesting to me. That's happened. I think I've seen that happen before, but that's still a little bit of a large discrepancy there. So that means that their team is a very, very much so a bend not don't break type of defense. So they've done that pretty well this year, but uh, considering the fact, kind of to intertwine it all together, considering the fact that their offense has had some struggles, especially with the fact that their running game has been a little bit banged up due to injuries because of J.K. Dobbins' injury. Um, but the fact that their offense is struggling. We kind of need to see a little bit more of the dynamic aspect on defense. So I think that defense needs to go get a couple more takeaways, set this offense up in better situations to go get more points. And if they can do that, I think that they could. I could see them winning a game in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to get any further than that. But and if I had to guess, I don't think they win a game in the playoffs. But if they do want a true chance at really, making some noise, kind of, it's a holiday season, playing the Grinch, I guess, in the playoffs, their best bet, in my eyes, is probably to see a little bit more of those takeaways on defense so that they can really get a little bit of a kickstart to the offense. Um, okay, number 7 seed, the Denver Broncos. What do you got, Ayush?
Yeah, these guys are really interesting to me. I mean, they've obviously been kind of a surprise team at the end of the day, being competitive this late in the season. Um, I think they. the main thing that they really need is just to find some consistency offensively. Overall, just in every part of the game. Bo Nix has looked really nice for the most part. There's obviously going to be a lot of bumps in the road in terms of his development, um, and just because he's a rookie and he's still getting used to the NFL. But overall, he's been really, really nice. Um, but I mean, you look at the guys outside of the quarterback. I mean, they can't figure out who they want to lean on in the run game. Some games, it's Javonte Williams. He'll have a really nice game, get maybe double digit carries, and then there's another game where he'll have 2 carries for -1 yards or something like that. And then they'll go to Jaleel McLaughlin, same idea, and then they'll go to Estime, the rookie from Notre Dame, and he'll. I think he's looked really solid, honestly. I don't. He was really nice this past game on limited carries. Um, haven't seen him used much until recently, so
Mhm.
he might be a guy that they start leaning on a little bit more to maybe find some consistency in the run game. But um, I think, I mean, you just have to have a little bit of consistency there in some way or another. Sean Payton right now is just pulling straws out of a hat to figure out who's going to get the most carries in whichever game that they're playing, and I don't think it's a good recipe. And then you look at the receivers um, outside of Cortland Sutton, it's a little shaky. The Valil, I think is how you say his name, the Utah guy, has had some really
Yeah.
nice moments. Um, but he once again is another guy that his snap counts have been all over. I think they've stabilized as of late, but I remember at the very beginning of the season they were very all over the place in terms of how many snaps and they were giving him. And then Marvin Mims, who I really really like, coming out of college, it's still now. uh, he can be the gadget guy for him. Just got to get the ball in his hands, and he can kind of have that um, breakaway type of thing that McCole Hardman or Jameson Williams has been used in the past. That type of player. Um, and then I think the Oregon Troy Franklin is on the team who has had some moments. I think he's been kind of all over the place just as a production standpoint, but um, I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to coaching and to make sure the guys that he wants to have on the field are on the field and are going to stay on the field in a consistent manner from here on out. Because unless if you have rotating pieces all the time, I really don't think um, it's just a good environment to really get consistent play out of everyone. You know, when you're just rotating pieces a little too much, especially this late in the season. So I think as we get closer to playoff time, seeing a little more of Estime, seeing more Marvin Mims can really give Bo Nix that kind of stability that he probably needs going into the playoffs, and then allows him to lean on um, the reliable Cortland Sutton as well. Um, they're probably one and done just because they're super inexperienced um, at that playoff level. But I mean, being they'll probably finish maybe 10-7. What are they right now? 9-7 or
Nine, 9 and 6.
8, 9-6. I think they'll finish 10-7 because they got to play. Uh, who was it? I saw they got to play Kansas
Uh,
City at the end of
yeah.
the year, so they'll probably split it at the end. But still, finishing 10-7 with a first year quarterback, basically a real first year for Sean Payton after last year's fun.
Yeah.
I think it really sets up nice things going forward. But getting consistency now, I think, is probably the biggest thing to really set him up well for the playoffs and in the future.
Yeah, and I'm a Cowboys fan, so I think this is actually a pretty easy comparison. Um, Rico Dowdle, he had a bad game last night. But Rico Dowdle, he had a little bit of a career revival. I mean, is that the right word? Because he hasn't really had anything to revive from other than just injuries and all that. So he finally had a chance to really uh, start collecting touches because the team decided, okay, we are realizing that the split backfield isn't working. No one's able to get a rhythm, and then they started just handing it off consistently to Rico Dowdle. They put Zeke on the back burner, um, uh, and they weren't trying out anything with the Dalvin Cook, a little Dalvin Cook experiment that they had midseason. They were like, okay, Rico, we're going to commit to you, And what happened then is he was able to get a rhythm. He was able to become more consistent, and he knew that the team had his back. So I
Yeah.
think once the Broncos are able to get a little bit more of that type of concept with their weapons, that offense is going to be a little bit more consistent. And it's going to be more favorable of a situation for Bo Nix because the guys around him are going to be able to perform on a more routine basis. So, um,
Yeah. Another
uh,
example of that is Chase Brown also just having
oh
a split
yeah,
in the beginning with
exactly.
Zach Moss and then finally getting his chance. So, I mean, I know I remember in the past we always talked about how the league was kind of shifting to that split back committee.
Mhm.
Like, you look at the Gibbs and Montgomery and Rashad White and Bucky Irving and guys like that. But there's still guys out there that can be a bell cow. And then we're kind of seeing it this kind of the revival of that this season, I feel like, with Saquon and Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs and guys like that. So I think giving someone, I don't know who, a chance in that Broncos backfield will really kind
Yeah.
of help them a lot.
Yeah, I think and I think there's a little bit of a place for the dual backfield because I think it's almost it's actually a very good thing in some senses. Like I don't think Chase Brown would be as good as he is right now if he didn't have that split backfield in the beginning of the year. And reason being is now he's not as worn down. He didn't get 20 touches a game
That's
right from the
true.
beginning, so he was able to kind of save his legs a little bit more later on. And then secondly, once you started getting those touches consistently, you were able to get momentum. You were able to get more of a rhythm, which I think also plays into the fact that it's more recent. That he's able to start getting more touches. Uh, so I think that the dual backfield can have its purpose, but there's also a point in time where these teams need to realize like, okay, who is the guy that games online, seasons online, even now that it's later on in the season, who am I going to start feeding these touches to consistently? uh I think some of these choices are rather easy, uh like Rico Dowdle. It's good that he's getting a lot more touches later on, and he's helped Dallas win a lot of games. Same with Chase Brown. Uh, they've started to get a little bit more of a rhythm going. Now they're, I guess, potentially in position to somehow make a playoff come back for the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah, it's a good. I think that's a good little kind of topic uh, to bring up here is that split backfield. Um, uh, yeah, though. So we're gonna pretty much wrap it up here because that is all of the 14 playoff teams, at least the 14 teams that we think are going to make the playoffs. But yeah, anyways, it is Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas to all of our listeners. I hope you guys enjoy the holidays. Hopefully, you guys have some time off from work or whatever obligations you have in life. So just go enjoy time with your family. Go enjoy some football because we're gonna have football on. We're gonna have Wednesday night football. That is
That's
amazing.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that is like never thought that would happen in my lifetime, but here
Yeah.
we are. I love it. Wednesday night football. So that's gonna be really exciting. Go watch some football. Go enjoy some family time. But otherwise, you can follow me on X, unless you're already following me and watching the live stream right now, because I'm sure there's like thousands of watchers right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be. Oh, there's 8 almost.
8?
Um, we're
No
almost
way.
there. That's actually pretty good.
I
I'm
ex
I'm
I
kinda
ex I did not
I
expect
thought
anyone to
for
be.
the first time it wouldn't be that much, but we got 8. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
you guys
crazy.
rock. Thank you. Anyways, yeah. So you can follow me on X, Dylan at Dylan Jewett 1. You can follow Ayush at Two Biscuits with a Z. Is it? And that's a Z right at the end.
Yeah,
I
it's a
can't
Z.
remember.
Yeah.
Okay, with a Z at the end. He's creative with his name choice. Um,
Yeah,
and
made it like sixth grade.
made it in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Uh, and anyways, yeah, my name's Dylan Jewett. That's Yush Kasaju. Thank you guys for listening, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas.